What is good, everybody? I am back with a brand new video, and today we are going to be talking about the HAILEY King Halo Mako 3. For those of you who don't know, HAILEY King just moved to Innova, and this, I believe, is her first Welcome to the Team disc. Now you may be wondering, Max, didn't you just do a Halo Mako 3 video? And yes, I did, but Innova did come out and say that these were going to be a much flatter run, which means possibly different flight characteristics. And something that I wanted to know before I bought it was, are they actually flatter than the stock run like Innova was saying? So let's get right into the main question, and that is it flatter than the stock run? And I would say definitely it is a little bit flatter. Not exactly what I had in mind, but it is definitely a flatter disc than the stock run. It still feels a little puddly in the middle, not necessarily pop top, but like I said, kind of puddly, if that makes any sort of sense. It still presses down a little bit, but it is relatively flat. And I just had pictured if it was going to be a flatter disc that it was going to be a little bit more firm in the middle here, and that is just not how it showed up, and that could totally just be the Halo plastic. But I did expect it to be a little bit more firm here in the middle and not really where I can actually press it down like I can the stock run. Now I did put both of these discs to the test to compare the flight characteristics and if there are any sort of differences. Starting with the HAILEY King Mako, on an Anheuser line, you can definitely tell that it holds an Annie very well. At the very end of the flight, it does look like it might be trying to fight out of it slightly, so that could be some added stability. I didn't throw it terribly hard, and it had some decent height, so it makes sense that it would fight a little bit at the end. Now with the stock run, you can definitely tell more toward the end of the flight that it's dumping right a bit harder than the HAILEY King was. It seems like the stock run was more at the end of the flight, really trying to push down to the right. It was thrown slightly lower. Overall, both held the Anheuser line great, and I'm really not seeing a huge difference between the two, other than the HAILEY King might have a little added stability by the end of its flight. Held pretty well. Now let's get into the straighter shot. And as you see here, I do throw the HAILEY King slightly low. I'm trying to throw it on a flat release so that we can really tell the flight. And at the end of its flight, it definitely is fading off to the right, which is pretty normal for Mako 3s. Although with this Halo plastic, you're hoping that it adds a bit more stability to keep a more straight line at the basket. Next up, I threw the stock run, basically the same shot, a little bit higher, and it did about the same thing, and it faded off to the right. Lastly, I did go to a field and just threw both of these, not too hard, but on a flat release, and they did hold pretty true to flight. If you're not ripping on them, I do think it's a really good straight disc. Overall, if you have a stock run Halo Mako 3, you already bought it, already in the bag, I do not see why you need to go out and buy the HAILEY King run. I know it's slightly flatter, but overall it's not going to feel that much different in the hand, and it's definitely not going to fly all that much different either, like I was hoping, and why honestly I bought it. What I will say is the Mako 3 is a great beginner disc. It's not too understable where you can't control it, and it'll really show you what kind of angle you have on the disc, as it will hold pretty much any angle. Although if you are ripping these on a flat angle, I do think it's going to tend to move more right than straight. I think you might have to put a little bit of a hyzer on it, or you're just not going to be throwing them as hard to get them going more on that straight direct line. Something in disc golf that is so hard to understand is different runs can fly completely different. These two runs, I would say, do not fly very differently, and if I would have known that, I would have probably not bought the HAILEY King run. I hope this video helped you decide if you want to go ahead and buy the HAILEY King Mako 3. My hopes were slightly let down considering I bought both of them when I really didn't need to, so I hope that does not happen to any of you guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate all the support. Go follow _chains_ on Instagram, where I post there daily, and we'll see you on the next one.